Hello, I can see people are joining already. This is great. We're having a little bit of teething issues, just to make sure we can get Stephen in. Right. Here we go. Okay, I think the teething issues hopefully will come good. Stephen, I'm promoting you to a panelist. We should be able to rejoin and come through. Yes. Okay.
All right. How are you doing?
I'm so sorry about that. So yes, for a little bit of behind the scenes for those of us who have joined us, this is the first time that we're hosting one of these on Zoom, and yeah, I wasn't able to send Stephen as a panel right now.
That was exciting, that.
Yeah, no, I think we like to make it a bit of a nail biter right to the start line. So welcome everyone. Thank you those people who are coming through and joining us. Um, as I said, this is the first time we're hosting one of these on Zoom and through Flock as well. So we're just going to give people a little bit of time to come through, and hopefully we'll be off to the races shortly. How are you, Stephen, in the meantime?
I'm really well. I'm very, very busy, which has got to be a good thing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, I'm doing really, really well. Yeah, how's things your way? Are you good?
Good. Yeah, I think I might be serving a little bit of house moving.
Are you moving house?
Yes, not right now, thank goodness, because that would be incredibly chaotic, but in a week or so.
Oh, I remember you saying, is it Sheffield?
Sheffield, yes, yes. We'll be heading back up north. So yeah, very excited about that. Finally leaving London. End of an era, as they say.
How long
But
have you been in London?
about 11 years. It's time.
Oh.
It's
Are you
time.
emotional about leaving, or are you okay with it?
Um, I think there will probably be moments of grieving or mourning, but right now, get me out of here, baby. For sure. No,
Sheffield.
yeah, very, very excited about it. But apologies for people who are joining. We had some initial teething issues at the start of the call, but really, really excited to be welcoming Stephen Forster today to this Flock AMA. We'll just give people a couple more minutes to come through, because there has been this is the first time we're hosting this across Zoom and Flock as well. So we just want to make sure people have a chance to join us. So apologies, Stephen, for you being the kind of 2025 kickoff guinea pig for this new approach.
I've been called a lot of things. Guinea pig's fine.
Yeah, guinea pig's quite a
I'll
nice
take
thing
it.
to be called.
I'll take it, yeah.
Absolutely. So this webinar, this AMA is being recorded as well. So for anyone who isn't able to join, or has to kind of step out, don't worry. The recording will be available for free as ever on Flock, on the Birdie resources, and we'll be sharing it out to people as well who joined. So if you miss anything, don't worry. You'll be able to recap really, really easily and share it with people. So I think we're getting more people coming in. Good. Apologies to anyone who may have had some issues joining us. This is the first time we've done this on Zoom/Flock, so the process is slightly different. But thank you, everyone. I can see people coming in now. Welcome to everyone who's joining. This is a really lovely chat that we're going to have with the recruitment and retention expert, Stephen Forster. So if any of you have come across him on LinkedIn, which I think is probably would you say your LinkedIn is your most kind of prolific?
Yeah, yeah, it kind of happened by accident as well. I never used to use LinkedIn
Mm.
until about 4 years ago, and then I just started posting videos with tips and tricks and advice. Just ordinary day-to-day things that were happening to me in the care industry. And so, yes, people started getting in touch with me that way, and it seems to be popular, which is nice.
No, it's great. I mean, I never know whether to use the phrase influencer when it comes to sort of social care, because it
Yeah,
always,
yeah, yeah.
but
It was, I
yeah,
just shivered and cringed my ass off there. So yeah,
yeah.
I don't.
I won't say it
I,
again.
I'll take it. I'll take that as well. A guinea pig influencer. There you go.
I mean, a guinea pig influencer, that is the dream. That really is.
I mean, if you're an influencer for the right reasons, that has to be a
Exactly.
positive. Yeah, so I might change my LinkedIn bio after this, if that's okay.
No, absolutely. Yeah, take it and run with it. So I
All right,
think hopefully we've had enough chance for people to come in. People may join throughout the course of this. Welcome to everyone who has joined us today. So as I mentioned, this chat is going to be recorded. So if you want to share it with anyone, we'll be sharing the resource for free on Flock and on Birdie, and of course through any sort of audiences we have as well. So if you can't make it, if you can't stay for the full thing, I'd recommend that you do, because it's a lovely, lovely way to spend your lunchtime. But if not, don't worry, you'll be able to access it afterwards and share it with people as well. So we are chatting today with the lovely Stephen Forster. So this has been pitched as a kind of get your recruitment and retention in order before 2025 even kicks off. So I'm sure a number of you on the call today either operate care businesses or work within sort of social care, and recruitment has been something that's either on your mind right now or is something you'd like to work on in the coming year. This chat is just going to be a way to get straight from the, again, I'm going to say horse's mouth, so I've now called you a horse.
okay, I'll take it.
Straight from kind of like an expert who's been there, done that, and has, you know, helped businesses save literally thousands of pounds in recruiting while making sure they get the best candidates. So we're just going to run through a number of kind of different questions which have either been sent through beforehand. There hopefully may be a chance as well for Stephen to answer some questions live. So if you have a question, please do put it in the Q&A, which everyone should be able to access, hopefully. I will double check that as we go. Again, apologies for any teething issues. Yeah, I think to kick things off, Stephen, please just tell us about yourself. What's your background? How did you get into the kind of recruitment, retention, social care world?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks so much for having me for starters. So, social network.
Sorry.
I started. It's all right. I started the Care Social Network 5 years ago. So, my care journey started 8 years ago. So, I used to work as I've done. I think I've done 27 different jobs all around the world, and then I became a supermarket manager, and I was having zero satisfaction. I turned 30 years old, and I just thought, you know what role do I want that is going to make a difference? I'm good working with people. I like listening to people. My wife, my mum, and a lot of family members said, look, you need to be a care assistant. I was completely ignorant to it, laughed it off. Men don't do that. I I was completely ignorant, saying, you know what, it's not a role for me. I then went on Indeed and applied for 5 different jobs. Got a call 10 minutes later, had an interview the next day, and was offered a role on the spot. And all of a sudden, I've now gone from a supermarket manager to a domiciliary care assistant overnight, which ended up being the best thing that I ever did. So I became a domiciliary care assistant. I did that for a year. Still the best job I've ever done, hands down, most rewarding role I've ever done. I then moved into the social media team there, if you like, and then became a HR manager in dom care and helped grow that team from about 35 staff to 70 staff in 18 months. Got outstanding with CQC, which was a team effort. And I just realized I fell in love with care and recruitment, but also building teams. Um, the dom care company asked me to sort of calm down with recruitment, which didn't sit well with me because I was target driven. And then I started my own company. So I now help care companies attract, hire, and retain care staff as much as possible. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I think in terms of like a journey from, you know, from start to finish, I really, it's really nice that kind of you got called into care because of those tangible skills of like, you like listening to people, you know, you like helping people.
Yeah,
So many
I
people
talk
find
about this all the
themselves
time.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've got to write down a list, haven't you? What you're good at, what you like doing, who do you like spending your time with, and what's going to make a difference. I was like, okay, people, caring for people, listening. What roles fall under that jurisdiction? Where does that lead you? HR manager, in all honesty, was the best, really good learning curve for me. But I didn't like the element of the HR elements, if you like. But I loved the recruitment and getting to know people elements. I didn't like the paperwork that came with HR. But I was also a care assistant whilst I was a HR manager for the dom care company, and that boded really well because staff look at you and they look at the office and go. As soon as I was in interview with people, I would tell them anecdotes about my care experience of being a carer, and they'd be
Mm.
like, "Oh, sorry, you're a carer." I was like, "Oh yeah, 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 born and bred. Like it's my bread and butter. I love being a carer." And then what happens then is people let their guard down. They really
Mm.
open up to you and they look at you in a different light. And I honestly say this now. I think every internal recruiter at any care company should be do a week or two, or longer if you can, depending on how busy you are, of care work. It will help you so much.
I mean, I think everyone who works in any care company in any capacity should do at least a week or so of frontline care work.
100%. Yeah,
No,
because you know the things, you know the anecdotes, you know the stories, you know the challenges,
yeah.
and you know you can't BS people in interview because you can tell them, look, you're looking for 40, 50 hours here. That is going to be challenging. I used to do it myself. Like, is that reasonable? And you can just be dead honest at the interview with people then.
So you've been there, you've done that, and sort of you used all that experience to effectively then get to where you are today, which is helping care businesses hire in a
Yeah.
far better way. We do have a question in the chat which I will come to shortly. Thank you, Nigel, for sharing. The first question now I kind of had to kind of set the scene in the conversation is so you know you've kind of shared it a lot on your LinkedIn and stuff, and we'll share all that details afterwards, how you've helped businesses hire around about 5 staff consistently a month. That's one of the kind of things that you've done.
Mm.
What's the single biggest change that you typically see businesses need to make to their recruitment process in order to achieve that sort of higher quality pipeline of candidates? What's the
Yeah.
one
So
thing?
so the one thing is internal processes. So that, I mean, that is one thing, but that is so many broad elements to processes. But if I could pick one thing of the process, it would be time. So time to hire. Time to hire kills care companies. It also makes care companies. And what I mean by that is speed. So somebody applies for a role with your care company, the time in which you respond to that candidate and the way that you respond to that candidate is essential. I could talk to you about processes all day long, but time is the number one.
So yeah, and we see you talk about that a lot. Is that turnaround in terms of like when someone applies for the job, when you've had the interview and that kind of thing, the longer that you leave the gaps
Yeah,
between these, the less likely you're going to get high quality.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, exactly. So you imagine this now. There's the elephant in the room sometimes is that companies say often to me, well, care staff should feel privileged to work in this industry. And if they don't want to pick up the phone and answer to us, then more fool them. I hate everything about that. So we would be naive to think that we are that special, each company, that a carer is only applying for one care role. That is a myth. I used to ask carers, I've interviewed over 500 care staff face to face, and I do it with teams now. If you ask care staff in your interviews, how many roles have you applied for? More often than not, it's 3 to 6. So okay, we know that. We know that's happening. That's minimum. Let's assume they're applying for 10. So, okay, you're in, let's just say Leeds, where I'm from. You apply for 10 care assistant roles in Leeds. There's only one, there's one staff member. They have to join one team. How are you going to make that carer want to join your team? What are you going to do to stand out? The first thing you've got to do is time. So somebody clicks apply, call that candidate straight away. And I mean call them. So too many companies, and I've done this because I've done hundreds of audits, are messaging candidates saying, "Thank you for your application. When can you do an interview?" This is the complete wrong way to do care recruitment. You're expecting the carer to respond to a basic message to you, which for all they know is AI as well. And it's very, very lazy way of doing the care recruitment. If you pick up the phone and speak to a candidate who applied 2 hours ago, how does that make you look to that candidate? Now, I've had debates about this with people, and they say it makes you look desperate. It does not make you look desperate. It makes you look organized, it makes you look like you really want that person. And I personally, it happened to me, so I know this. Somebody's calling me and said, "Look, your application just came through. I want to tell you about our role, sell our company. Have you got 5 minutes, 10 minutes to spare?" How many times has anybody said, "Who the hell do you think you are calling me this soon? I only applied 2 hours ago." It doesn't happen. Never happens. People they want to be contacted early. This is the world we live in right now. It's all about speed. And then on the phone screen, you have to make the phone screen an unbelievable experience. I call this the candidate journey. So you've got to make the journey of the experience really pleasant. Have an unbelievable phone call. Sell the care company instead of telling people what you want. Tell them what you can offer. So don't be saying, just so you know, this is alternate weekends. You've got a car. You can definitely do this. We've been let down recently. You're going to stay with us a year, aren't you? Which is what companies are doing. Ask questions. Can I just let you know some success stories from our team? Can I let you know what benefits we have here, what flexibility we have, what shift patterns? Sell the role as much as possible. I guarantee you, if you sell the role and you are quick, you will see a significant difference.
No, I think that helps in not just kind of like getting a candidate across the line as well. It's about sort of finding someone who's genuinely interested in your
Yeah,
business and will wants to grow with you and kind of be a part of that team
yeah,
longer term. Whereas
yeah,
if you're saying it's this much, you're not going to be here for that long, whatever, then
yeah.
of course you're only going to attract people who that's what they want.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can only leave one first impression, right? So you've got to make that first impression count. So some companies will say, okay, so tell us what you know about our care company. And if the candidate doesn't know anything about their care company, they totally rule them out. That is absolutely ridiculous way to do your care recruitment, in my opinion, because a care role as well. Let's not forget, it's not a 9 to 5 role. People are applying for care roles at midnight, 2 in the morning. I see this every day. They might finish the night shift, they might be fed up. They're applying for roles that they see. You know what? These are the top 5 roles. I'll apply for those roles. A candidate hasn't got time to research your company. However, at face-to-face interview, yes, you can prep them and they should be prepared for it. But the phone screen and the early stages are all about selling your business and getting that person to show up for the face-to-face interview.
No, I think that's really interesting, and I don't know whether there were, any people on the call kind of would have this question around how would you balance kind of the urgent need that you often have as a care business to fill positions with that sort of with that higher quality process, if that makes
Yeah, of
sense.
course.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to fall for the trap of, without sounding ignorant, inviting anybody in for an interview. So I genuinely feel, and I can send people this for free. I've got phone screen templates. You can find out a lot about a person in a 10-minute phone call. A lot, a hell of a lot, if you're smart about it and you do things in the right order. From in my opinion, I'm a massive values-based recruitment advocate. I push values on companies as much as possible. I honestly think the best people out there are still who want to work in care, just don't know it yet. We can chat about that later. But you don't have to compromise your quality by speeding things up. If you're smart, if you ask the right questions, if you look for red flags in phone calls, you can do that in 10 minutes. You can do it for longer if you want. I could do it in 5 or 6 minutes, but I've done it 1,000 times. It's just a process, and if you don't have to compromise quality.
So I mean, yeah, and definitely those materials that you kind of speak of and stuff that you have, we'll make sure to signpost people.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Uh,
it's just a process, and some people don't like doing phone screens because it's not their strong point. They might feel nervous, and that's okay. I think some care companies as well need to choose the best person internally to do the phone screen. The phone screen, the first phone screen is huge. It's so important.
mm.
I would honestly choose who's the happiest, jolliest, friendliest person in our team. I honestly mean that. Like they should be doing the first phone call. Can they sell our company and sell our benefits in 10 minutes? Not somebody who, you know, certain people within care industries are unbelievable at their role. They're just not recruiters. That's just not their job, unfortunately. That's not a bad thing. Some registered managers aren't supposed to be recruiters, and that's okay. They would admit that. They tell the hundreds of registered managers tell me they don't like doing phone screens just because it's not what they like doing. They prefer processes, they prefer quality. So I think care organisations need to make a decision. Okay, who is the best person for doing these phone screens?
No, I think that again sort of speaks to having a process around recruitment, which isn't just we urgently need to fill a role, whoever can get this across the line, do it. So you would say it's sort of understanding who the person is in the team, and that could be anyone across
Yep,
the team who is good at phone screens. Find
yeah,
that.
yeah. So exactly that, exactly that. So I was working for a domiciliary care company in West Yorkshire, 70 staff, about 7 or 8 of us in the office, give or take. When I was busy, I used to ask our field care supervisor to help me with recruitment. The reason being is because she was unbelievable at making people feel good about themselves. She just had a natural gift. That was just what she was born to do. She just didn't want to become a registered manager or a care manager. She was happy at field care supervisor. She could flip people's personality. If they were moody or just in a bad mood or whatever, she could flip it. And I noticed that early. And I asked her to help me. So 2 hours a week, just 2 hours, she used to help me. 2 hours a week, she could call 20 people and arrange a couple of interviews per week for me because she was unbelievable at selling a care role. So I think you could look at your organisation. It's also a really good retention tool because you're asking your staff members to do other roles and making them feel welcome, and you're upskilling them as well.
I mean, just on that quickly, would you say that would you recommend any kind of incentive for people who do take on this additional work of handling the phone screen, or do you think that the inclusion in sort of bringing them into the hiring process
Yeah,
is
no, I think that there are we incentivize when the field care supervisor referred to that, she got paid an enhanced rate for working in the office. So I mean, like it all over, pay is always going to be the number one incentive. There's no point denying it. However, other than pay, I think you can look at other incentives. We didn't do this, but I think you could. We used to shout. I think you need to be shouting out about your staff members as much as possible on social media. We used to do it weekly. We do meet the teams. It was me, the registered manager or the owner, with a new staff member. 3 times a week we do this, sorry. We never posted jobs on social media because it's a social platform. It shouldn't be used for advertising jobs, in my opinion. You should be creating a culture and an ethos, and that will organically get applications. So we used to do meet the teams. Here's Sarah. She's been with us 3 months. Sarah's a mum of 3. She enjoys playing tennis on the weekend. She loves reading these novels. Here's what Sarah had to say about working for our team. And then you would have a quote from the staff member. This took me about an hour a week. You have no idea how many hires we used to get through Facebook and Instagram just by creating a warm, friendly environment. So that's and the staff members who you're doing it used to feel unbelievably happy. You would. There's your HR manager, there's your registered manager telling you how amazing you are and how much they appreciate you.
that's such an interesting point around not using social media for job postings. So I just
So when I say that, I mean as in literally not spamming Facebook with hiring, which is
right.
criminal. You should never be doing that. So you can creating campaigns and using a Facebook marketplace is different. I'm talking about organic Facebook here, not paid. So to me, you can have a call to action at the bottom of these. So you could even say at the bottom of all this, ever considered working in care? Are you like Sarah? Are you a friendly, kind, compassionate person? Are you looking for flexible shifts? Contact our friendly team now. So you can have a small call to action at the bottom. But what I'm talking about, people who literally go on Canva and put hiring and just spam their Facebook. Like I would never be doing that personally because people are going to your social media pages to find about you and your team. That they want to know about your culture. What are your staff members like? What do you do for your staff? What incentives are there? That's what I mean by that.
No, I would completely agree with that approach. I think, saving your social media, your business's social media profile for sort of not directly pushing the job roles because it gets very spammy and you get low
Yeah.
quality kind of candidates coming through, but using it to showcase how amazing your business is so that people want to come to you. I think that's a
Yeah.
really good insight. I mean, in terms of sort of where people do then post roles, I mean, you yourself kind of are a bit of an expert in Indeed.
Mhm.
Could you just tell us a little bit more about Indeed as a job
Yeah.
site? Why
Yeah.
you're calling on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a there's a reason I push Indeed and talk about Indeed and advocate Indeed is because over 8 years, 86% of my hires and my clients' hires have come through Indeed. So that is too high of a stat to ignore. There are other job platforms out there, of course there are, but I've always had the most success through Indeed because it's a very well. Firstly, it's got the biggest market share, and it's the biggest. You can combine all the other job boards together with how many staff, how many candidates they have, and it doesn't beat Indeed. So it's got the traffic. People will argue all day with me about this. It is the most affordable job advertising platform if you use it correctly. So Indeed, I'll have to send you some of the case studies. But some of my clients are spending, I would say, between 500 and £1,000 a month, and they're hiring between 5 and 10 people a month. That's an advertising cost of £100. So if you ask most care companies, look, what is your advertising cost per hire? They typically might not know that answer. My clients, and for me forever, it's been between 100 and £200. If I gave a care company a grand tomorrow, sorry, if they gave me a grand and I gave them 5 staff, would they snap my hand off? They should. £1,000 for 5 care staff is a good deal. And Indeed is an unbelievable platform that if set up correctly, which we do as a company, you can absolutely smash your targets. Like the results we get and we've had consistently, 100% of the time have been out of this world. But you need to, there's no, and I need to add here as well. So we do recruitment and retention audits for care companies where we look at their processes. We physically go to their care company and look at their processes. Now, there is no point spending money on Indeed if your processes are terrible, because there's no point getting all these quality applications if you're not doing things right at your end. So what typically happens is, Stephen, we get applications on Indeed and they're not relevant. People don't meet the criteria and they're just not good enough. I do an Indeed audit. It's never the case. So the problem is that people aren't answering the phone who apply on Indeed. It's because people are waiting 4 or 5 days. So care companies are waiting 4 or 5 days to call people, and they're only messaging people on Indeed. Somebody apply. Indeed is a lead generation tool. Let's not forget that. That's all it is there for. It is there to get people in front of you. It's down to the care company then to action the candidates. So going back to time again. So you have to, when people apply, you need a process. You need to be picking up the phone, and you need to know as an organization who does what responsibility.
No, I think that that's really interesting. And for a lot of people, like obviously you hear different ways to approach things, but it seems like, again, it's not necessarily, it's like Indeed itself is the magic tool for suddenly resolving everything. It's just that it's, as you said, a lead generation tool, and it's still up to
Yeah,
the.
yeah, well, 100%. Yeah, I mean, 86% of hires from me and my clients, which is an unbelievable number. I think you'd be crazy to ignore that number. People can say all they want and say, look, we put our money elsewhere. That's completely fine. But if you're willing to listen to experts and follow a process over and over, you will get unbelievable results. Like I cannot believe it when I speak to people and they say they're not using it. I say, look, we can literally turn this around for you. If you want to remove agency, we can do that. Indeed can do that. Even if you don't listen to me and my team, please go and use Indeed.
That's a
It's
very.
just a non it's just a non-negotiable. Like it just can't. Yeah, it can't be ignored. I get quite passionate about it, as you probably tell, because I just think it's so good to be. I'm like, oh, hold on, look at all these amazing candidates who are applying. It's just I want to tell the world about it because look, they're literally applying for your care company. But you need to be stringent as well. So people will still post free jobs on Indeed and complain nobody applies. Well, of course they're not applying. You're posting free jobs. Your free jobs are on page 4, 5, and 6.
Mm.
How many people realistically? I'll put you and I in this if you don't mind. If we were looking for a new job tomorrow, I don't think we'd look on page 4, 5, and 6. Just see them in Google. If I look for some new trainers tomorrow, or a holiday, or a car, I'm looking at the first 4 or 5 on page 1. I'm just not
Mm.
going to page 4, 5, and 6. So you need to also work out what your cost per hire is for your return on investment. So what is a care staff actually worth to your organization? Work out that, work out your marketing budget. Okay, what of this marketing budget can we put 50% on Indeed and then work out where the rest goes? So you've also got amazing referral tools like Care Friends. So nearly switch Care Friends, which I'm sure you're aware of, an amazing referral tool where you literally staff build up points and then you can make those points into money, gifts, vouchers, whatever you want to do. So there are other areas you can spend your money as well.
And I think if anyone on the chat kind of has any questions about sort of, but how can I make this work? What what teach me how this
Yeah,
was played? Then I think, as I said, we'll pass on Stephen and his team's details afterwards, so you can reach out directly and get get some of that guidance from them, because it does feel like, I think a lot of people think there is a secret sauce, and you kind of have a lot of ideas of what it could be, but it takes a two-way street.
yeah. Well, it's exactly why my audit, recruitment audit and retention audit came about, because it just became clear to me that care companies weren't doing the right processes at their end. Unfortunately, that might be down to not being educated, not having the experience, not having the time. So what happens is when I do an audit, I would say 90% of care companies um, would admit they don't have time to call people within 24 hours because they're doing other tasks and other responsibilities, or they're getting pulled from pillar to post. But then when you ask the care companies what their biggest priority right now is, oh, it's recruitment. Okay, so it's your biggest priority, but you're putting it at the bottom of the priority list. So you want to fix it, but you're not willing to act upon it. But there's also a subject and a discussion around education. You know, if people don't know about time to hire and they think you should send a message to people on Indeed, then okay, that's fine. You're just not educated. That's why my business started, to try and educate and help as many care organisations as possible. So we work with startups, medium size and large size, and it's this. I mean, with startups, we work with them for free, we want to help them out and get started. When you first start a care company, it's a daunting experience, and recruitment especially.
No, I mean, and there's so many people in the space as well. Like, there's Care Social Network, there's the Care Handbook with Noel Williams. There's lots of people in this area as well that you can, like, that do know and
Yeah.
have there and can help. So yeah, so anyone who is really thinking this all sounds good, but I can't compute,
Well,
they,
yeah, I think you'll find this interesting as well. So people are very open with me on LinkedIn, which I love because I think we haven't got time to waste. So be open. I know I reckon at least 30% of people on LinkedIn follow me and they follow my free advice and they never need to use my service, which is amazing. I actually think that's amazing, and they
yeah.
admit it to me as well. Someone said to me a couple of weeks ago, "Can I just say I feel like sending you a grand because I've been following you for that long. We use your free advice and we're smashing it, but I've never paid you a penny." I was like, you know what? Send me a grand if you want, but
Yeah, I mean,
like
you won't stop someone.
well, yeah. But the bigger picture here is we have to solve. I keep getting told there's a recruitment crisis. There is not a recruit. Well, there is apparently, but there isn't a crisis for any of my clients and anybody that listens to me because they've got because and I hope that doesn't sound arrogant. It's just me telling the facts. If you follow the processes and you're consistent in your approach, you will smash your care recruitment. You also have to. I mean, values-based recruitment is another subject. There's too many care companies, unfortunately, in my opinion, who are still judging people by CVs, and you know, I just don't agree with that at all. I think you've got to get on the phone with people. You can tell within 2 or 3 minutes if somebody is suitable for you. You can also ask screener questions on Indeed to get the basic details from somebody. So every single one of my clients, I'm sharing you some top tips now. We ask the screener question: are you a kind and compassionate person who enjoys caring for people? About 80% of people respond to that. They don't just put yes, they'll tell you why they're a kind and compassionate person. So then imagine their CV's terrible, maybe there's no jobs on there, but then you've asked them a question about being kind and compassionate and they've wrote you 4 or 5 sentences. How nice is that they can look at that and go, hold on, they're asking me about my personality, not my experience. I love that.
No, I get, and it's just about attracting people who are genuinely motivated to be there. I did have, as I said, a couple of questions that had come through on the Q&A, and if anyone on the call has any questions for Stephen around this kind of recruitment process, or even that first steps of welcoming someone into the organization. This was an interesting one from Nigel, which came in, is what are your thoughts on the values of international recruitment? And do you think this is an easy process?
I mean, it's a hot topic at the moment right now. I think it's not something I'm an expert in all honesty, in international recruitment. I think there's definitely a place for it because we have to focus on the person and their values and their work ethic as opposed to where they're from, in my opinion. I lived in Australia in my early 20s, and I was technically an international recruit, and I worked there for 5 years, and I got sponsored in a warehouse job and then in a sales job, and that worked really well for me and the company. So to answer the question, I am a fan of it. I don't have a lot of knowledge around international recruitment, but I am a fan of it. I would rather focus on the person, their skills and their qualities over where they're from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That and this kind of, I'd like to touch again at some point on the values-based hiring motion as well, because I think that really speaks to it. Yeah, I mean, there are a number of sort of international recruitment resources out there, as well as organisations that can help. So Lifted,
Yeah.
for example, is a good place to go if you're looking for more information on that. There was one other question which came in. So yeah, so how could you apply the same principle of that first call screening interaction to potential candidates to remote recruitment teams who don't have the opportunity to interact on a face-to-face basis? So you were saying for the first
Yeah.
we'll find someone, who's good at it. What if it's a remote team hiring?
So there's many care companies who do that. I work with a few of them. So the remote element is from a phone screen point of view, you can that is from the office or remote anyway. However, I personally am not a fan of remote final interview. So there's companies out there who are still doing Teams interviews and Zoom interviews without ever meeting staff members and then deciding if they hire them based on a Zoom or Teams interview. I'm not a fan of that at all. I think it was good for COVID, of course it was, but I think we're way past that now. And you have to be doing face-to-face interviews, in my opinion. I've seen this fall apart for many, many companies. No-show rates for audits that we did last year, there was over 100 who were doing Teams and Zoom interviews remotely, where the offer management was around 79%. However, actual stats was below 30. So that tells me, unless that person is meeting you face-to-face, getting to know you and your team, building a relationship and building a rapport, I will not be a fan of doing remote recruitment. The first phone call, of course, because that's done from an office anyway, and that can be done from anywhere. But if companies are recruiting remotely, so there's a big dom care company I work with, and they're all over the country, and their team is all over the country as well. So they arrange interviews for their registered managers, but they've gone back to Teams interviews. So the recruiters are doing the offer management. So you offer a care staff a member and they've never visited that office, never met the registered manager, never met any of the team. I don't like this at all. I think people are buying people face to face. And what happens is your retention becomes terrible. I can send you some stats over, but people who don't meet their registered managers and don't meet their teams are more likely to drop off. Absolutely.
So the kind of, I guess, advice in this moment would be is that you could probably get away with the initial screening call, if the people were trained on the call to ask the right values-led question.
100%.
But
Yeah,
beyond
yeah, yeah.
that point, you need to have
No, yeah.
right.
So let's say you are remote and I'm arranging an interview. So I could build a relationship with you and tell you, I said, look, I want to arrange a face-to-face interview with our team with you. This is going really, really well. I want you to meet our registered manager, Sharon. She's available tomorrow at 1 p.m. Let me tell you about Sharon. She's A, B, C, D, and E. She started off as a carer, but she's now a registered manager. You will absolutely love meeting her. I'm going to call her now and tell her about you. If I say tomorrow at 1 o'clock that she can meet you, do you think you could meet her at 1 o'clock? So what you're doing is you're creating a bit of a buzz. You're creating a buzz around the interview and meeting the person. It's almost like a scarcity tactic, really, but you not in a manipulative way, but you're just selling the service and you're selling the people. So imagine then that carer meets that registered manager and everything you've said as a recruiter is true. Imagine that trust and that rapport you've built with that person then.
So I'd love to dive just like a little bit more into this screening phone call, because I think that like having that as an established like first step for people, even if this is something that they can just take away today and really start considering,
Yeah.
can you suggest sort of like 3 things that you as the screener should either ask or do on that? So it seems
Yeah.
like one of them could be sell the business, be excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is sort of in that, but the first thing is asking questions about that person, not in relation to the role. People think that's ridiculous because it's like, hold on, they've applied for a role. We're not here to make friends. No, you are here to make friends. You're here to build relationships. You should be asking that person questions about them as a person, their day. So, for example, let's say you call somebody now, and you can hear a baby in the background. Hi, Lucy. It's Stephen at ABC Care. I've just seen your application come through. My God, your CV is fantastic. I really wanted to get you for 5 minutes. Is that okay? I'll tell you what, it sounds like you're at a crash. Have you got is that a baby in the background? Oh yeah, I had a baby 9 months ago. Fantastic. How do you find being a mum? You get the point. I'm asking questions. Oh, I love being a mum. Fantastic. Have you got any other children? So you're actually showing an interest, but more importantly, and this is the second point, actually listening to what people are saying. There's too many care companies who are reading a script and not listening to the answers. So they're literally not listening, and they're already thinking of the next question. Just take an interest in that person, listen, sell the company, and show that you're genuinely interested. But the main one as well, after you've done all that, is having a CTA, call to action. So end the phone call. Um, Lucy, this has gone really well. I want you to work for this organization. If we arrange a face-to-face interview, we could have you starting with us as soon as possible. You mentioned you've left the role and you're looking to start a new role. What would be the earliest you wanted to start with us if you were successful? And creating that buzz, not in a desperate way, you're just creating a buzz around the role. So then you have call to actions where you say, look, I'm going to email you and text you and invite to interview. You have to press accept. That will let our manager know you'll be there at 1 o'clock tomorrow. I'm also going to send you a link to our Facebook pages and a video of our YouTube, and that's our owners on there. They've done some really nice talks from our Christmas party last year. I think you'll really like that. So what you're doing is you're constantly building up excitement about the company. Imagine they go to your Facebook now, and what we touched on earlier, they see them meet the teams. Oh wow, I want to be like her. I want to be like him. YouTube, the owner seems really friendly and really nice. So you're creating a real buzz around the role. Your no shows is the biggest topic. We chat about that all day as well. No shows for interviews is a massive problem for a lot of care companies. I think the average is 42%. The average for our clients is 82%, so it's 40% higher. So they have an 18% no-show rate. So you invite 10 people to interview, around 2 people don't turn up. The average in the UK, you invite 10 people, more than likely 6 people don't show up. That's painful for care companies. It's demotivating. It affects morale, time wasters. It affects the budget. So yeah, there's loads of little tricks you can do.
And that's that. Get back to them instantly with that 10-minute screening. I mean, this is obviously if that screening goes well.
Of course.
What would be the signs on that 10-minute screening call that actually you
Yeah,
make?
of course. I'm talking like this is all, you know, daisies and all happy and all rosy, but it's obviously it's not. But what you can do is when people apply on Indeed and you've asked those screener questions, this is what we do for companies. We prioritize who we call. So what we do is, say 100 people apply. Okay, the first 50 haven't met the criteria. We can see that from their screener questions. They haven't made it. However, we still send a thank you message to those people who have been unsuccessful. We haven't even spoke to them, but they've already told us they don't drive or they require sponsorship or whatever reason they don't meet the criteria. We would send them a message saying, look, we really appreciate it. Unfortunately, you've not met the criteria because you don't drive. If you should pass your driving test in future, please bear us in mind. We wish you nothing but the best. So that's being polite and that's keeping your reputation up. Then you can go through the rest of the people who've applied and look at their screening questions and prioritize them. If somebody's not meeting your criteria or you're getting a bad vibe or there's a few red flags, e.g., look, I can't do alternate weekends because I've got 6 kids. I can only do 9. I can only do 9 while free. Or unfortunately, yeah, we do 7 while free. We can't work around that. Really nice to chat to you, but on this case, on this circumstance, sorry, in this scenario, we can't take this any further. If you ever change your mind or you can work on 7, please just let us know. It's very simple. That was 30 seconds. It's very simple. You have to have people doing the phone screens who are, in my opinion, target driven and say a little bit sales driven and just enjoy talking to people. Not salesy. I don't mean salesy in the cheesy in your face sort of way. I mean just who are KPI driven and enjoy talking to people. Because look, you've been polite to that person, you've let them know, okay, that's fine, move on to the next person. I think you just got to be very, very consistent in your approach.
No, and I think yeah, that consistency where you do so much of the work up front with the kind of almost the screening before the screening, and then on that 10 minutes you
Yeah, well, it's
that's a
exactly how my
great system. Yeah.
yeah, which is exactly how my business started. So one of our services, we condense candidates down for companies. So when teams come in on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning, they don't have 100 people to look at; they have 22. So you condense it down, and it just makes it more motivating. Okay, Stephen and his team have put 22 people in front of us. We can focus on calling those people because we already know Stephen sent thank you, but no thank you to people who don't meet our criteria. Because what you don't want to do is ignore people who've applied for you ever, even if they don't meet the criteria. It's very simple to set up a template on Indeed, a rejection template if you like, um, and just be polite to people. You know, your reputation is massive. People talk in communities, and people are. If you send a rejection message to somebody saying, "Unfortunately, you haven't met the criteria," they're not going to be angry at you. They understand. Oh, sorry, yeah, my fault. No worries. I'll go to the next person. I'll go to the next company.
No, and I think again another reason why Indeed is a good thing to do, because it seems that you can set up these like
Oh,
templates
it's so
once
quick.
they don't meet
Yeah, yeah.
certain criteria.
Templates are so easy. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
We did have another question in from the chat actually. So if anyone has any questions for Stephen, please do put them in either the Q&A or in the chat, and if we can, we will get to them. So how so this was a question from Daniel that we answered earlier around sort of the remote-based interviewing. What about when you're applying, interviewing, recruiting at an extremely high volume? So
Yeah.
how does this system work when you're looking at kind of really getting in numbers at scale?
Yeah, so high volume recruitment is typically going to be people with companies with you know a hell of a lot of vacancies to fill. So that there comes down to prioritizing workload. So I mean, who? It's a very broad question because we need to know, as an example, let's say you've got 50 roles to fill. One person isn't going to fill those roles. You need to look at your internal team and how many recruiters you have. So volume recruitment is impossible for individuals to do unless they want to work 60, 70 hours a week. So, I mean, it all comes down to hiring internal recruitment teams who are capable of dealing with volume recruitment. So, for example, I would never give volume recruitment to somebody who's inexperienced, an inexperienced recruiter because they won't be skilled enough and it will become overwhelming. I used to do volume recruitment a long time ago, and you've literally got to rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But if you enjoy sales and you enjoy targets, it's a very good role and a very fulfilling role as well. It goes back to, again, just being consistent, having a set process. By process as well, it's not detailed, 10 steps, following the process, call the person, see if they're good enough. That's just made me realize as well what you want to focus on is interview availability and volume recruitment. So do not, I want to put this in bold letters, do not call people if you do not have interview availability from your internal management team. What I mean by that is, say you call somebody now and they're unbelievable on the phone, and you're like, "My God, you'll be fantastic for this care company," but you haven't got interview availability. So, Lucy, when are you free? I'm free tomorrow. Ah, shit, I don't know if our manager's free tomorrow. So your team, your management team, need to organise their week and give you interview availability, e.g., look, Steve, I can do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 10 and 4. That might change because of circumstances and it's care. But right now I can give you those times. So you're giving your management team accountability. Because it's typically registered managers internally who will do or HR manager who will do the face-to-face interview. More than likely the registered manager. Once you give them accountability and you book an interview in, they have to stick to it. Because if you don't give interview availability, you have to call the candidate back. Sorry, I'll check if tomorrow's free. Yeah, you've got to call your manager, see if they're free. They're now not free. You've got to go back to the candidate. It just slows everything down.
So I think yeah, that there's a lot of things, and again it's process. It's making sure your people are comfortable with the high volume recruitment, and it's making sure availability for the next step.
Yeah,
if you can't
because
get those, yeah.
volume recruitment without interview availability, you will leave that role quickly. because you're just chasing your tail constantly. But imagine you've got interview availability. You can. I'd look at this week, next week, and go, okay, I've got 16 slots here. I'm gonna because I love sales. I'm gonna fill them 16, and I'm gonna make sure 14 out of 16 show, and I'm gonna make sure we offer 8. Because when people should, this is a bold statement, but I stand by it. I honestly think 3/4 of people, if not more, who show up to face-to-face interviews should be hired because the phone screen can get rid of any doubts or any
Right.
questions. It's now down to the person in front of you to fail this, really. They shouldn't be failing it. So I used to, this is a top tip as well, if you want another one. I actually used to send people a message about their interview and I'd let them know what was going to happen at the interview. I wouldn't tell them the questions, but I would tell them what we were going to be talking about. E.g., at the interview, I'm going to give you a tour. We're going to talk about you, and then there's going to be competency questions. These competency questions are going to be around safeguarding, safety at the workplace, companionship. So then that gives the candidate an actual opportunity to look at these, especially if you're from a values-based recruitment back. If you've never done care before, you throw a question at somebody about confidentiality or compliance in the workplace, they may be like, oh, God. So yeah, you can help candidates not cheat the system, but you're giving them an opportunity to research the role then. So I honestly think 3/4 of people who show up to face-to-face interviews should be hired,
And again,
if not more.
I really want to have a chance to touch. I'm just conscious of time. I really want to have a chance to
This is
touch
4 hours, is it? We're not doing 4 hours.
on. We're going all night. All right,
I
everyone.
know.
The so I really want to just again just dive deeper a little bit into what values based means. But before that point, we did have another question from the audience here. So do you have any suggestions for interview no shows next steps? So for example, if there was someone who did have a really great CV and applied and you were excited to actually get them on board, you're like, oh, this person's good, and then they didn't show. What
Yeah.
would you do then, or should you do?
Yes, I mean, yeah, it's difficult because you're always going to get people who are amazing on the phone who don't show, and that is demoralizing because you're like, hold on, I built this amazing rapport with them. They told me they were going to show up. They replied yes to the email, and they didn't show up. Now, I personally have no problem reaching out to that person if they didn't show up for interview and get honest feedback. But I mean, typically, if you're calling candidates before 24 hours and you have an unbelievable phone screen, you should be aiming for, like my clients, an 82% sure rate to your interviews. If there's not, okay, then what's going wrong? Was the phone screen good enough? Did we sell the role good enough? Is there enough benefits of working here? Are our social media pages good enough? Is our website up to date? Because candidates are looking at social media, they're looking at your website. Um, so yeah, it is challenging, but if you follow the steps and do call people early, 82% of the time they should be showing up for interview. If they're not, I mean, that's something without knowing about this, you can dig into processes a hell of a lot more and work out what's going on. But yeah, you've got to remain consistent. That's the only way to do it. If a couple of people don't show up, so be it. It's their loss.
And you'd say that that's the right kind of frame to take, is not to chase
No,
anyone.
no. I would chase. I would ask. I would send an email saying, "Hi, Lucy. We had an interview at 1 p.m. today. Unfortunately, you didn't attend. I understand things can change at the last minute. Of course, they can. Are you looking to reschedule or have you made another decision? Either way, that is completely fine. If you have found another role or you're not interested, just let me know so I don't have to keep chasing you about this. You know,
And
and,
then
and
let that lie at that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People say like, "Oh, I ain't got time to call people." Well, you don't have to call them. Drop them a message, drop them a text. You can't do much more than that. I wouldn't be chasing people 3, 4 times. You've already arranged an interview, they've agreed to it. You've now reached out. You can't. You know what you're going to do? Show up at people's houses. There's only so much you could do. No shows are going to be a problem. Okay, but if they're below 80%, there is an internal bottleneck.
No, great. So yeah, I hope that helped who answered that. In If you can, in like 3 minutes, because I'd like to take the last 2 minutes to make sure people can find you and the team and get you.
Yeah,
I just want to ask a little bit more about, you've mentioned values-based recruitment a few
yeah,
times. Could you sum up what that is and why it's the best mode for sort of care businesses looking for people?
yeah. So if you don't adopt values-based recruitment into your care company, in my opinion, you will not succeed long term in your goals. Now, people will argue and say, well, Stephen, this is complex children's care. It's an Ofsted requirement, of course. There's certain circumstances where experience is required, but values-based recruitment is focusing on what's in the title, a person's values. Why have they applied for this role? Has something happened to them personally? So, for example, I don't mind sharing my story. I applied for my mum. She's fine now. She had cancer when I was in my 20s, and I saw the care she was receiving. My brother had a brain tumor as well, which was a nightmare at 12 years old, and he had care for 10 years. He's fine now as well, so there's a happy ending. I saw the care they were having. There was definitely something inside me that said, my God, I've grown up around care. I've seen carers. I've seen people at hospitals. I've seen the NHS. Oh God, like look at them. Look how happy they are. Look what they're doing. So you have to realize, like, most people who apply for a care role have had some sort of personal experience within care, might be a friend, family, whatever it may be, grandma, whatever it may be. Focusing on why that person has applied for a role, what makes them want to do this role, and realistically, can they see themselves doing it long term? So people will say all the time, look, people who haven't got experience are never going to last. That's simply not true. Every single person in care had zero experience. Let's not forget that. But values is just absolutely non-negotiable. Focus on the person, focus on what makes them tick, focus on their personality. Ask them to give you examples of kindness and compassion and see what they say.
No, interesting. And I think, yeah, definitely there's a lot on sort of the values-based recruitment frameworks out there. So if it's something that you're, unfamiliar with, then there's a lot of information out there. And again, this is a nice segue to, I guess, if you have sort of questions that have come up during this call that you just want, a chance to actually sit down and speak to experts in the field, then where can people get more get more Care Social Network, get more of you? Like, what's the next steps for people if they want to find out more?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I'm active on LinkedIn. As we mentioned earlier, I post a lot of videos and tips and ideas and polls on LinkedIn. You can email me, Stephen at the caresocialnetwork.co.uk, my website, caresocialnetwork.co.uk. LinkedIn, I'm very active. That will probably be the best way. Even if you want free advice and you want templates for interviews, I've got hundreds of blog posts and templates. I've got a YouTube channel, the Care Social Network. There's videos on there. There's just endless amount of content. If people get nervous as well because they think it's going to, here we go, a sales pitch, same old story, and they think I'm an agency. I am not an agency. So I don't. I'm anti-agency is strong, but care companies get me in typically to remove agency. And we don't provide care staff as well. So people sometimes think that. I thought I'd tell you that early. We help teams, we train teams up to hire permanent care staff as well as managing Indeed. So if you've got any Indeed problems or process problems, just ask for free advice.
Amazing. No, and I think it's definitely I don't know about you, but I feel like there's a real sort of wave of excitement and positivity among like in so much of the sector at the moment. And
Oh yeah,
it
absolutely. Yeah,
starts by
this is it.
reaching
Yeah,
out.
we need to share more positive stories. Crisis. We hear politics. We hear the news. It's like, do you have any idea how many successful stories there are? Most care companies I go to, their adverts are very basic, and I'll be like, "Tell me about the registered manager." Oh yeah, she started off as a carer. She does this for charity. She ran the London Marathon. I'm like, why is that not on your adverts? Why is that not on your social media pages? It's like they just don't realize it because they're just too busy.
No, and yeah, I think we'll hopefully start to see like way more of this kind of thing. And I just want to say thank you very much for your time today, and apologies to anyone who may have had a chaotic entrance to the call, Stephen included. We definitely have had some kind of like teething issues, but as I said, the recording will be available, but posted on Flock and on Birdie. We'll be sending it out to everyone who's signed up as well. So if you weren't able to get in at the beginning, don't worry, you'll get all the good stuff.
Yeah,
And definitely do check out Stephen. As you said, LinkedIn's a good place to go. But if you don't have that, just the Care Social Network, you'll be able to find them by typing that into Google, and we'll share details along with the recording as well.
well, can I say thank you to you as well? Like yeah, you might. I don't know if people say this, but you're a really good host. You're the Stephen Bartlett of the care
Oh
industry.
no.
You heard it here first.
I know that's the first time I've
So
heard this.
when I'm on his show in 2027, I'll refer to you.
Thank you. You'll say, well, no, you'll say you're like the male Lucy.
Ah, of course,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course. Yeah, there you go. Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Really,
Thank
really
you
do.
everyone for joining, and yeah, we'll reach out, and have a lovely rest of Friday, everyone. Right.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
See you. Bye, bye, bye.